Alright, so I guess we're about to get started here with the workshop that we're going to do.
Attention, please.
Have the packet of information.
Trying to hear the speaker.
Oh yeah, thanks, Red. So let us reintroduce ourselves. I'm Danny Mustafa. I am a student at the University of New Mexico. I'm a junior. I'm studying multimedia journalism with a minor in peace studies. And I am a member of Students for Justice in Palestine. And yeah.
I'm Bayan Jabber. I'm a junior at Action Academy High School, and I am an activist for social justice.
Great.
My name is Bradley Conway. I'm a student in the Earth and Planetary Science Department, and I guess I'm anti-war, and I got involved with SGP because it's a bunch of war crimes put together. So yeah.
All right. And so for this workshop, we're gonna try and make it interactive. But from the beginning of it, we're going to introduce what SJP is, what our work focuses on, and what our work specifically in Albuquerque, New Mexico focuses on, because we have a lot of coalition building that we do. So I'm just going to summarize what SJP is. SJP is actually an international organization of students from. There's over 120 different campuses that have SJPs internationally. And we've actually grown tremendously in the past, I would say 10 years, or even 5 years. It's grown a lot. And so SJP, we are a group of students who advocate for the end of the Israeli occupation. And we advocate in ways of direct actions. We have speaker events. We also do a lot of, kind of like what Sabeel does in terms of mobilizing people. But we mobilize students, so I guess there's a difference. We're the youth of the movement. And so also one of our goals as Palestinian, or as students, is to help raise Palestinian voices. The voices who live in occupied Palestine, the voices who are in refugee camps throughout the Middle East, and also the diaspora. Like, for instance, I'm a Palestinian in the diaspora. I was born here in Albuquerque, New Mexico, but my family is from Palestine, and so is Bayan. And so we feel, as Palestinian students, we feel kind of a duty, a sense of duty to help advocate for our people back home and in the Middle East. And we're going to be talking a little bit at the end of the workshop about what solidarity is. That's going to be part of our interactive, and we're going to be discussing that. And so I'm going to turn to Bayan, who will give us a short summary of our mission. So I kind of talked about our goals. We're going to go more in depth with our interactive, but Bayan will talk about our mission.
So our mission statement is that we are advocates for freedom, justice, and equality, and we are the fastest growing organization in the Solidarity Project, which is, we have 120 chapters nationally, internationally, and in the past years we have like a bunch of work.
So I guess we'll talk about specifics of what we do here in Albuquerque.
Specific projects.
Well, so what we do is we take our mission statement, that is freedom, justice, and equality. We take it to heart. We know that Palestine is not the only place where oppression exists. We know that in other places our mission statement compels SJP to collaborate with other organizations like MECHA, the Mexican Students Association, the Cuba Club. We know that military occupation, is relevant here where we're from. And so we build coalitions and try to build solidarity amongst students to generate this common sentiment, which we think that we can translate into action. And so, yeah.
And so part of that is in Albuquerque, New Mexico, we are the borderlands. Well, we're the borderlands, whereas our New Mexico is a border state to Mexico. So one of the key things that we work with is we work with students in MECHA, Movimiento Estudiantil Chicano de Aztlán, which is a group that was formulated way back in the 60s. It's a Chicano group that advocates for the end of military oppression, and they kind of have the similar, They have similar goals and missions as us. It might be in different parts of the world, but the sentiment is pretty much the same. And actually, just a little side note, we're actually going to be working closely with National SJP and National MECHA, so we're really excited. So you guys will probably see big things coming from both of those, our organization and their organization, in the coming months, actually, after the conference. And so, one of the things that we do as solidarity activists here in Albuquerque, we do, since we're not in Palestine, you know, we have to bring the message here at home of what's going on in the occupied Palestine and what's happening over there. And so how we do that is we have creativity, we have creative minds, and also, you know, we're for academics because we're students, but also we love art. And one of the things we did was,
well, we had a mock wall project. We built like an 80-foot long mock wall through Zimmerman Plaza, and it represented social barriers and the wall being built through Mexico, the fence being built through Mexico, dividing people, and the apartheid wall going through Israel, and we made these connections.
yeah, the West Bank.
Yeah, so that was a collaborative effort. We raised awareness. We tried to bring this essentially together.
And you have some of the panels on the
Yeah,
porch.
yeah, and actually, you want a little taste of what we do? We have panels on the porch of the church, and we have the panels from Kiva Club, which is a Native American group. We have us, SJP, and Answer Coalition, and then also MECHA. So we really strive to make those connections and let everybody on campus know.
What kind of feedback did you get from the student population?
Actually, it was interesting. It was an interesting. We expected a lot more hostility, but also we realized, especially at University of New Mexico, it's a commuter school. So a lot of kids, I call it university near mom, because a lot of people, you know, they live at home and they go to university. So a lot of people aren't really on campus, aren't really exposed to the outside world or outside of like, kind of like Albuquerque. So a lot of people didn't know what was going on. But when they saw the wall, it actually sparked a lot of good conversations amongst people. People who wanted to become more interested and just had questions. And also we had a few people who were kind of hostile to the idea, and a lot of people were like, gosh, you're kind of ruining our way of going to class, even though it really wasn't in their way. And I was like, well, now you know exactly, that's the point. And actually, our school paper, the Daily Lobo, they had a poll of like asking students, you know, what did you think of the mock wall? And I feel like it was, what is it called? It was flawed in the sense of somebody went on and like kept on voting that it was horrible, and like they were like over 1,000 votes, and the New Mexico Daily Lobo doesn't get that many votes ever. That was like the highest ranking things, but what?
It was probably the same people that put the wall of truth up, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The wall of
Last
truth. I tried to forget about that.
Well, I don't know do you know the name of the group that put it up?
So the David Horowitz Freedom Center, they have a counter wall called the Wall of Truth. And so the Israel Alliance group on our campus put it up to counter our wall. And it was just, they had like how many myths?
It was like 12 minutes.
12 myths about what's happening. And so it was like it was kind of across from our wall, but I don't know.
It was like a really, it was clearly like printed out at some really fancy printing shop, and then they sent it out there. And it basically was like 12 myths, so like myth, Israel is an apartheid state, and then they would say, you know, for all these reasons,
Yeah.
it's not an apartheid state.
But the difference, what's interesting about our campus is the Israel Alliance, they have a core group of 3 people, and they're all over the age of like 50 or 60. And so like their tactics aren't really effective in the sense of like trying to market to the student population. And so, I know, we were actually expecting something bigger. Yeah, well, 2 of them are students. I don't know. I think they just have
But don't you have a Hillel on campus?
we have a Hillel, but they aren't actually that loud about anything. You know, they'll put something into the letter to the editor, like very subtly. But the students in Hillel are very just mainly focused on, you know, what's happening in Hillel, not really what's happening in Israel Palestine. And so that's actually it's good for us too, because we don't have to deal with that noise. and we can just concentrate on what's important and what's proactive, which is continuing to spread awareness. And one thing I can confidently say is last year we were very active. We had over seven stories published about us in a course of a semester, which is a huge thing because not that many groups get that much media attention, especially on campus. And so everybody, like in class, if you tell them we're from Students for Justice in Palestine, they'll say, "Oh yeah, I heard about you guys." So it's just getting that word Palestine in their brain, or Students for Justice in Palestine in their brain, just to spark that interest, which is what we do on campus, which is exciting. I don't know. And so let's see. Should we add on? Should we start the?
Much of the 33 billion comes back to our state in salaries and research grants.
We haven't done that, but we've looked at, well, some people, I would say more graduate students probably and professors have looked into that. Not really us so much, but we know that we correspond with the U.S. Campaign to End the Occupation, and they have a lot of those statistics on their website that they do constant research on, which is it's a cool resource. So if you guys don't know, you should go to U.S. Campaign to End the Israeli Occupation website, and they have those statistics. But one thing that I guess we should mention is we're about to launch a BDS campaign. With JVP and American Friends Service Committee has this wonderful campaign called We Divest. And I don't know who attended Sydney Levy's workshop, maybe a few people. Okay, so pretty much what it is we're asking the institution of UNM to divest from corporations that contribute to the Israeli occupation, and one of the main investments at UNM is HP. So we're going to do a lot of work around trying to get UNM to divest from HP and put pressure on HP to divest from the occupation. So we're still working on how we're going to plan that, but a lot of schools like Hampshire College, DePaul University, and other schools, like they actually were successful in getting their colleges to divest from corporations that continue. So once we get a solid amount of research and action done, we'll come back with a report back, and hopefully we'll be successful in getting HP or the UNM to divest from HP. So in a little bit, we'll talk about that. Yes, sir.
In effect, you're asking students to take individual responsibility as American citizens for policy.
Yes.
That's a big leap.
It is a big leap.
How far have you gotten? I mean, have you had experience in getting people to make that leap?
We actually recruited a lot of students and telling them about our role as American citizens like our hand in the occupation. And so, you know, it really sparked a lot of interest in a lot of students to be like, oh wow, so we actually do have kind of a responsibility to this, and we can make change. And so, you know, we've had a lot of students come to our meetings, or a lot of students come to our events and like really want to know how they can further. So I feel like it's not gonna change overnight, but we can slowly, you know, spark something in students, especially because students, we're the future, which everyone says we are the future, and we're also the present too, because we're here. And so we have a role in this, and so hopefully we'll continue to do that. So right now, actually, we're gonna do interactive stuff, and then we'll do a Q&A, and then we'll let you guys go. Promise. Okay. And so, how are we going to...
Okay, so these words, we want to discuss them with you because, well, I mean, but ultimately, these, like, freedom and justice and equality are going to come, I mean, from within Palestine and not necessarily from us. We are advocates of freedom, justice, and equality. And so, we think that those are central, I mean, core values.
Yeah.
And so we'd like to discuss them in our own community first. And so, what does freedom mean to you guys?
So raise your hand if you have a definition, or if you have something to say.
The ability to respond.
And these are all, you know, they're very like general words. You know, you could use freedom for almost anything. You can use justice and equality for anything. But specifically for the Palestine solidarity community, we want to know what these words resonate to you. And anything else, Freedom?
An opportunity to realize your full potential.
Miss?
Freedom of speech, both in Palestine and here, to speak the truth about Palestine and not be called anti-Semitic, prosecuted for hate speech, which is probably coming down the line.
In the back, Ellen?
The ability to speak up and act out when things go wrong.
The ability to speak up and act out.
Against the law.
Against the law?
Yes.
When things go wrong.
The freedom to work for a living wage.
Freedom to work.
Oh, yeah.
Did I see
What
any
about-
words?
Freedom of movement.
Freedom of movement.
Freedom from fear of just living. Freedom from fear.
Freedom from invasion. Yeah.
Fear.
Being
targeted.
What's mom? What? Sorry, this is my mom.
Propaganda.
Freedom from propaganda. Yeah.
Freedom from propaganda.
Yeah. Like in everything he does.
Freedom for party, for race, for class, gender, identity.
So, can you repeat that one more time? Sorry. Freedom of
Freedom
race.
from party, for race, for class,
Cool.
gender, identity.
All right, and we'll take one more. If anybody. Freedom to vote. All right, awesome. So kind of like democracy.
Freedom to your own political voice.
Cool. Okay, so yeah, freedom. Freedom is a very important word for this movement, especially. And so we're gonna do justice and equality, and then we'll tell you why we're doing this. We'll give you a reason for why. Okay, so justice.
Anybody?
What is
What
justice
is justice to you, ma'am?
Equality under the law.
Equality under the law.
Fundamental fairness.
How about equality of practice?
Equality of practice. That's good.
Under law and practice. Yes.
Self-determination.
Julie. This is our other issue.
Ma'am?
Fundamental fairness.
Fundamental fairness. Do you mean under the law?
Whether under the law or under practice. The law may not be the only way that fairness can express itself in a society. We have a whole lot of fairness laws, and yet there's still injustice.
Yeah.
Equitable sharing of resources.
Equitable sharing of resources? Yeah. Right. Oh, equitable. I thought. Okay.
Is justice defined by each one of you? Can justice, well, should we let justice be defined by an entity outside of ourselves? How do I rephrase it?
So,
Like, justice to me is not justice to you.
and so one of the things, I guess, for me, justice is, it's being. I'm a firm believer in transformative justice, and what is that word? It starts with something. Restorative justice. I'm a firm believer in restorative justice. So justice comes in different definitions of what there's retributive justice, and then there's restorative justice, and so it's kind of like how we see the definition, and we'll get to the point by the end of this, but there's a point to why we're doing this. And also because we wanted
more
something
definitions
interactive.
of justice, please.
To be fair is always to be just.
Yeah.
And you can treat children and you treat them exactly alike. That's not necessarily just.
Yeah.
So equality is not White being the same as just.
Justice is not
Exactly.
the same as.
So we'll take two more, and then we're gonna go on to equality.
Okay?
Basic needs met.
Basic needs.
Basic needs met.
Alright, anything else? We're gonna move dignity up there? What's that? Dignity?
Do you have a black pen? Because the red one's harder to read.
Unfortunately,
Or just write triggers.
yeah, you can write one. Okay.
Black.
Alright,
Thank you.
perfect, okay.
The older audience.
Nice. Okay, so equality. Whoa, that fell. Anything for equality?
In the back.
Fairness.
Better?
Rita?
They say already respect for your human rights and your,
Human rights?
yeah.
Human rights, huh?
Interesting. This is a justice thing too.
No privilege.
Privilege. What do you mean by privilege?
Oh, it's all around us, it's everywhere.
So privilege.
Comparability of chances.
Comparability of chances, huh?
Options.
Opportunity.
Opportunity.
Equal opportunities.
The opposite of capitalism.
Social democracy.
I think the same starting point. Everyone starts at the same point. It's like the privilege. It kind of falls in with no privilege.
I think you're going down a good road here. Continue, please.
I'm not sure how to put it. I mean, you say everyone starts at the same spot, and without regard to privilege, you have the equal opportunity to attain whatever it is that all of you might want to obtain.
Yes.
Isn't that called a level playing field?
Yes, thank you.
That's why I said comparable chances, because everybody doesn't start at the same point. So can the playing field respect our starting points and still give us chances? Comparable chances.
Upward mobility.
What about freedom of, what about political equity,
Playing field.
equity of
Like
political power?
Like a ball field, playing. Playing.
Playing. Why? I-N-G.
Oh.
Okay. And then I guess one more?
Oh, gosh, can we
Okay,
take
two more.
Ellen first?
Equal salary for equal work.
Equal salary for equal work. Alright.
Although we're thinking political and Palestinian here, when I see freedom and equality up there, I still think of gay and lesbian rights, so.
Yeah.
Okay. And so let's read them off real quick from freedom. And okay, I'm gonna do this a different way. Alright. What we're gonna do. Who wants to read it? Freedom. What we put down for freedom. Do you?
Yeah. Alright, ability to respond, realize full potential, freedom of speech, ability to speak up and act out, freedom to work, freedom of movement, freedom of fear, freedom from propaganda, freedom from targeting, and freedom to vote, or political voice.
Okay. So on this list, does anybody have a problem with one of these points that we made?
Would anyone like to pick a fight with anyone?
We're not going to make this into a big discussion, or a debate or whatever, but we just want to see. Does everyone, is there a consensual agreement of these points?
Can you guys see them?
Can you read them again?
Yeah. The first one's ability to respond, realize full potential, freedom of speech, freedom to speak up and act out, freedom to work, freedom of movement, freedom of fear,
From fear.
or from fear, sorry, freedom from propaganda, freedom from targeting, and freedom to vote or have political voice.
Can I add something I just thought
Yeah.
is really a glaring absence. It's just the freedom to be who you are.
That's exactly what I was going to say before,
Out of
the
all
same
of that,
exact words,
that's what I
yeah.
get. That's what I distill it down to.
Without invasion, I wonder.
Just freedom to be who you are.
Yeah.
I mean, if
That's-
you
Freedom to be yourself.
Realizing
Yeah.
your potential.
The one problem I have with all of these is that they are individual freedoms, which is good.
Right.
But then when those freedoms get into conflict with each other and somebody's stronger,
Right.
they argue, well, I'm exercising my freedom. Well, they're squashing you on the ground.
Right.
And so part of freedom has to be a societal freedom.
Right.
Freedom from invasion.
Freedom from other people's exercise of their freedom.
So
maybe-
freedoms collide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it's
Well, there have to be individual rights respected and political rights.
Yeah.
Individual and collective.
Okay.
okay. So I'd like to make a distinction here because I think the conversation calls for it. I think that there is a distinction between positive rights and negative rights. A positive right is a right that you have to something. I have a right to education. I have a right to work. I have a right to a service. Okay, so I won't. A negative right is a right that you have to not be invaded. I have a right not to be. I have a right not to be harmed or slandered or maybe not. I don't know, but there's a difference between a right to something and having a right to my body, like a right to your personality.
And so, okay, so we should quickly skim through equality and justice, and then we'll make our point, and then we'll let you guys
So justice. We have equality under law and practice, fundamental fairness, audible rights, whatever.
Equitable rights.
Equitable rights, basic needs met, and dignity.
Does anybody have anything against any of the points made?
Or anything added on.
All right, we should move on to the next thing.
One good thing about the justice things, if you look at freedom,
Yeah.
and then you look at their justice definitions, they come together
Yeah.
where
So, come together with freedom.
they come together with freedom, that if freedom violates justice, then that's a problem. If somebody's exercise of their individual freedom violates justice for me, that's a problem.
Is that everything?
Yeah. Okay, cool. And then equality.
Well, I'm sorry, but just to elaborate on your point, if someone's freedom violates, their justice, things aren't equal. So, freedom,
Yes,
justice.
there we are in the third one.
All right, and then fairness, human rights, no privilege, equal opportunity, level playing field, equal salary for equal work, and gay and lesbian rights.
Now,
Disagreements, add-ons.
Yeah, it's okay. Maybe we'll just. All right. So, anything? Are we kind of consensual on kind of like to the basic needs of like freedom, justice, and equality? Do we seem pretty consensual on what we wrote down? And okay.
well, I think that the striking point is here that everyone defines these things differently, and I don't know. So like when you hear people talking about it, it's like everyone assume that everyone else around you is thinking about these things differently.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, that's true actually. The thing, one of the points that for this exercise though is to really think about these words, because throughout this conference, I'm sure everybody heard these words at least like 1,000,000 times. so it's like really in-depth thinking of what Palestinians, they call it in the BNC, from Palestinian Civil Society, the BDS and like the BDS movement. Their thing is freedom, justice, and equality. And so to internalize what those things mean, what those words mean, and to really think about, how as solidarity activists, how we can support that. Because you look at these words, these words apply to every single person probably on this earth. Everybody strives for freedom. Wouldn't you say? Like on a personal basis, like personally, on one body, one person, wants freedom, you know? They want justice and they want equality. That doesn't necessarily mean that they think about that like towards other people, but personally, like, and themselves. So, you know, as solidarity activists, we need to remember that Palestinians, you know, they're humans, they're us, we're them, we're all one in this struggle, and we all strive for the same thing, whether you're Native Americans here in America, you're Tibetans in Tibet, you're Palestinians, you're Black South Africans during apartheid, you know. It's freedom, justice, and equality is the central message that we all strive for as human beings. And so it brings up the point of solidarity. What is solidarity? What does it mean for us as individuals in America, as activists in America, to be in solidarity with Palestinians? And so we just have one more thing, and I want to see what everybody thinks what solidarity is, like what they think solidarity is, to be in solidarity with Palestinians. And then we'll make our closing remarks. And then so does anybody have any input on what they think solidarity is?
Agreement.
Movement building. Movement building.
Movement building?
Yes. Empathy as people who are just the same as we are.
Organized response.
Organized response. I missed the other one. Organized
Supporting the
response.
same
Empathy.
goals.
Empathy.
The same goals.
The same goals?
I wonder if we're being too general. Ma'am,
What do you think?
organized response for who's, I don't know, I guess, well, definitely, well, I guess all these things, these are just actions.
At the end of this, we'll state our position on what we think solidarity is, and then we can go for Q&A.
Standing in line with your sisters and brothers who are picketing for fair rights.
So standing in line with brothers and students who are
Standing
standing
by brothers and sisters.
in the street. Yeah.
Standing with.
Standing with. Okay.
Stand by me.
Empathy. Oh yeah, empathy. Yeah.
Like identifying with
Identify.
suffering or identifying.
So identify.
Yeah, identify.
Identifying with another struggle as if it is yours.
Okay. Yeah. Identify with another struggle.
I'm just gonna add it to.
Compassionate action. Compassion.
A family feeling.
Collaboration.
Family feeling and
Collaboration.
collaboration. Okay. All right. So
Are all of these necessary components of solidarity? That's my question.
Oh no, I was gonna say what's next, right?
Well, agreement about tactics might not be necessary, but you'd be in solidarity with that movement's self-determination of it.
yes. So self-determination. Yeah. Self-determination. Yeah. Solidarity with self-determination. Thank you.
I got that one.
I'd like to, we had mentioned privilege just for a quick second, and maybe that's okay because privilege is really difficult to talk about. But with solidarity, I think it's important to use our privileges that we do have, you know, in this country or as students or, you know, me as like a white person. I have a lot of privileges, and it can be difficult to recognize, and it can oftentimes lead to criticism of tactics when, you know, I maybe don't understand a position that somebody is coming from. Like for me, I've never had to use any type of violence to defend myself, and I consider that a privilege because I come from a very privileged, you know, white suburb type of situation. So I think that dealing with solidarity is a big part of that is recognizing the privileges I have in perspective, and also using the privileges that I have for the people that, you know, are living in oppressed situations every day. And I mean, we'd definitely be interested in talking privilege a little bit more with you on an individual basis. Not that we can delve too much into it right now, but.
And so Julie nailed part of our statement of what we think solidarity is. Actually, you did it really eloquently.
I would say solidarity for us goes certainly central to it is identifying with the oppressed population, but our responsibility, I feel, of solidarity is to work to end the oppression, not just identify with it. We have the power here to end it, and that's our.
Yeah, I think standing with and not like away from.
Yeah, and not just sort of saying, not feeling the victimization that they're forced to feel, but fighting against it.
And that the solutions would come from the oppressed and the grassroots, and that we would be following that lead, not imposing, and then also that, you know, the solidarity, not charity, making that distinction.
Solutions from the
Solutions from the oppressed, not imposed, and not charity.
Press right our agenda.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, cool. So we pretty much.
Right here, Danielle.
Oh, sorry.
One more thing, sorry.
Yeah.
I think feeling an obligation to be successful.
Obligation to be successful. That's cool. So
No, where did it go?
we actually, a few people actually